Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Well, good afternoon and welcome to our panel discussion, Black Mom Magic, Celebrating Successes and Support Systems. I'm your moderator, Jennifer Fry, and it is my absolute honor and privilege to be with you today. I'm the program manager of Mom Success here at the Mom Project. And for those of you who are new to the Mom Project, we are a digital talent marketplace and community where moms, dads, caregivers can realize their full potential as professionals. Through our marketplace, we connect you with job opportunities at family-friendly companies that allow you to thrive at work and at home. And through our community, we provide you with the support, tools, resources, and connections you need to keep moving forward in your journey as a working parent. At the Mom Project, we celebrate and uplift women and moms everywhere. And for Black History Month, or rather Black Herstory Month, we personally salute and highlight Black motherhood and the complexities and successes that come from our various experiences. Our powerhouse panel of women will join us for a conversation to celebrate their stories of how they blaze their own trails as both professionals and as moms. We will also explore the power of community and how that has impacted their path, discussing how we can and should be leaning on those around us, whether that's family, friends, colleagues, mentors. We're all in this together in moving ourselves forward. Additionally, we are proud here at the Mom Project to say that two of our panelists today are very special to us. One of our panelists come from JLL and the other from Citibank. Both are supporters of the Mom Project and are deeply committed to helping mothers, women, and caregivers stay engaged in the workforce. I am thrilled for our panelists to introduce themselves, and at this time, we will start with Giselle Batley.
Awesome, thank you. Hi all, thank you for joining our discussion today. My name is Giselle Batley, and I'm the D&I Director of Partnerships and University Relations here at JLL. JLL is a global commercial real estate firm. And prior to joining JLL, I have a pretty diverse mix of experiences in my background from it spans from sales to marketing. I've also worked in the consumer packaged goods industry, health insurance, and then most recently professional services for a big four professional services firm. I've had the pleasure of spending the last 7 years really focused in the talent acquisition space, and more specifically diversity and inclusion, which is a strong passion of mine. So I'm fortunate to say that I get to fulfill one of my personal missions in life, which is opening the doors and creating opportunities for underrepresented communities and marginalized communities within any industry that I work in. I'm honored to be here today alongside these other phenomenal women who are also mothers. And I probably should have started as well by saying I am a mom, which is also why I'm here. I am a proud mother of two very active children. I have a 4 and a 5-year-old, and I like to joke and say that I am in the thick of motherhood. That's what I call it. But they're very dependent on me for everything at that age, right? So I'm still reaching snacks in the pantry, or making their drinks, or doing tasks for them. So I'm very busy during work hours and after work hours for sure. And one thing I just want to say, if I don't get to it later in the session, and one thing I want to leave some of the moms here with today, is that I'm a firm believer that you can have it all, and that all could be whatever you define that to be. But for me, that's being a wife, being a mom, and still climbing the corporate ladder. And I am a firm believer that you shouldn't have to sacrifice significantly one role in order to advance in another. I'm still crazy at times, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. But I just want to encourage some moms out there who are deciding, can I do X, Y, Z? You can. And there's plenty of other women out there who have pioneered and paved the way and showed us that it can be done. But thank you all for having me today. I'm excited to chat.
Perfect. Thank you for that introduction. And now we'll move on to Jenny LaFleur.
Hey everyone, hey, I am Jenny LaFleur. I am the founder and community builder and activist of Mama Fresh. I am based in Chicago, and I started Mama Fresh to take a fresh approach to motherhood. And this is about a motherhood doing it our own way, remixing what's some of the generations before us did.
Jenny, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, Jenny. And I think we believe we're having technical challenges in hearing your audio come through.
Thank you, everyone, for telling me that it's breaking up really badly. One moment. If you want to switch over to Sandra, I'll come out of my
Okay, 1 second. We'll come back to you. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We will now pivot over to Sandra Peterson.
Thank you. And thanks to all my sisters out there for spending the time with us today. It's, these types of sessions I find to be very, very productive and very inspiring for all of us. So every time I do one of these sessions, I come out of it learning a lot myself. And let me preface that with, I've been in financial services for 30 plus years. So I've been at it for a very long time. I attended Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. I majored in finance and computer sciences. I started my career in New York City working for Bankers Trust Company. I've been in banking for, as I mentioned, 30 plus years. During that time, I spent about 5 years as a founding partner of a company called the Regulus Group. And let me tell you, as a Black female and the only Black female partner of the company, it was a phenomenal, phenomenal experience. It took its toll on me as a mother, but I learned a lot, and I'll share a little bit about that as we go through some of the questions. I am the mother of 4 young adults. I have to say that I don't have any young kids at home, so I have a different experience and different challenges. All of my kids, 4 kids have graduated from college. And in addition to my 4 children, I adopted my niece when she was 9 years old. Her mother was a single parent and passed away. So I like to say during my career, I had the wonderful blessing to raise 5 strong Black male and females. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Today, I'm at Citibank. I've been at Citibank for 10 years. And I have 2 roles. You'll find when you work at Citi, for those of my colleagues who are on the phone, they don't allow us to get away with one job. So I have 2 roles. One of the roles is I live and I'm based in Delaware. I'm the site president for Citibank Delaware, which requires me to do things around investment in the community and what we're doing specifically in the inner city. So I get the pleasure of helping to allocate dollars in the community to support our Black talent and our young kids. My other job, I am the managing director, part of the TTS business, which is Treasury Trade Services globally. And basically what I am responsible for is our corporate clients, our financial institution clients, and our public sector clients. Once they sign up with Citibank, my team is responsible for managing the relationship and making sure our clients have a great experience. It's a global organization, which is wonderful. I have about 2,000 people reporting into my organization. And what I love about my job is prior to COVID, I had the opportunity to do a lot of traveling. So getting, to spend time in Asia, getting to spend time in EMEA, getting time to spend in Latin America, as well as the work that's being done in North America. And so when we talk about Black mom magic, I have a sympathetic heart to my sisters around the world and the mothers around the world, because what I find at the end of the day, we're all people, we're all mothers, we all have our challenges. Our challenges are just somewhat different. And that's what I hope we get out of this session today, because I know I have some of my colleagues joining today around the world, people of color and non-color as well. So I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much for having me on the panel today.
Thank you so much. And that was just such a beautiful introduction about your background and experience, and can't wait to dive into the next set of questions. But I want to circle back with Miss Jenny LaFleur, and let's see, is the audio
better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
So like many of you, the reason I have my AirPods in is because our house at this point is my son is e-learning downstairs. So if you hear someone sing a weather song, that's pre-K, virtual pre-K happening. My husband is also on a conference call, and I have a newborn at home. So just like you, just like so many of you working from home, our house now is the home to, so many different activities all at once. So I'll start again. I am Jenny LaFleur. I am the founder of Mama Fresh. I'm a community builder and also influencer. I started Mama Fresh 3.5 years ago. I was in the fashion industry and I traveled tremendously before. And when I had my baby, I came back from a self-funded maternity leave of 6 weeks. And I came because I was working for a small business. And I came back to work on a Wednesday and I was on a plane that Friday, leaving my 6-week-old baby. So I traveled so much. And when I came home, I was ushering my child to events. And there I did not see moms that looked like me, kids that looked like my little guy. And so that's when I started to create a community here in Chicago where our diversity of motherhood is not just tolerated, but celebrated. And that was 3 years. And what has literally started with just like little mom get-togethers on the south side of Chicago has become a full-fledged business for me. I have had some great partnerships, including Target, Bank of America, Meyer, like some great brands that have all reached out to me because they love the trailblazing that we're doing in our community of doing motherhood in a fresh way.
Perfect. Well, this has been just already an exciting panel thus far with just our introductions alone. So again, thank you ladies for making the time to speak with our community today. But let's just start right into the conversation and talk about Black Mom Magic. I know for me personally, Black Mom Magic is about embracing my Blackness and womanhood, pulling from traditions of my mom, my late grandmother and sister, while creating new experiences and traditions with my own daughter. Jenny, I want to start with you. When you hear or see the words Black Mom Magic, what does it mean to you? How does it resonate with you as a mom?
Black Mom Magic is like that flavor, that spice, that thing that takes motherhood and kick it up a notch. Sometimes you can't like even put it into words, but you know when it's missing, and Lord, you know when it's there. So that is the magic that we add to motherhood. The great thing that we get to do with our generation is that we get to take some of the things that generations of mothers before us took. So some things that were passed down, and we get to take it or leave it. So we get to take and keep what we want to do. And then some things, some generational traumas or things that we want to leave behind, we get to put it to the side. So we get to raise free thinking, imaginative, creative, question asking Black kids of the next generation. And when I hear that, it literally gets me so excited. You can see my face light up. And just like a magic act, just like if you're watching a magician, you can't explain. I can't explain how I have a newborn. I'm doing a science experiment. We're listening to gospel music. I'm making my husband breakfast, and I'm doing it all in a smile and logging on to emails, but it gets done. It's the magic is the perfect word. And that is what brings us all together. And that's what makes us so appealing to everyone.
Love, love, love that answer. And so I want to just segue here to Sandra. How do you apply Black Mom Magic in your career, both now and as you were coming up? And what does it symbolize or mean for you while at work and at home?
Yeah. So okay, panel and those participants. I'm a little older, the older generation. So I'm gonna share, as I was coming up in my career, some of the challenges, which I would say to you are somewhat different today than they were back then. So I'm gonna relate it based on Jennifer's question, then and now, home and work. So when I think about it, back then when I started my career, I was always telling my children to always be themselves, no matter what, right? Be proud of who you are, not to worry about what others thought. But when I think back to my early journey, I was a hypocrite. I was doing just the opposite. I was trying to fit in. I was working hard to make sure I fit in and I was accepted. And so I said to myself, what am I doing to my children? I also told my children, always go after your dreams. Don't let anyone get in the way of your dreams. And then I thought about what I was doing at work in my early years, right? I was not doing things that were going to get me to my dream, right? I wasn't speaking up. I wasn't asking the question, why did I not get that next opportunity? I wasn't doing it. As a matter of fact, not only was I not living my dream, I felt like I was in a nightmare, right? Because when you're working so hard to do a good job, and part of that battle is about, do I fit in? It just causes us more pressure, more pain. And that means we're not performing at the level that we need to be performing. So be cognizant of that, right? Practice what you preach. If you tell your kids one thing, you have to be living it as well, because they look at us and they see what we're doing. So why did I change? At what point in my career did I change who Sandra Peterson was, and how she was acting? I was working so hard. I was so fatigued all the time. I couldn't, am I coming? Am I going? Am I getting the project done? Am I fitting in? Do they like me? All of that emotion was going through my mind. At the end of the day, it didn't matter that I was doing all that. It just did not matter. I was not living my truth, so I was not being my authentic self, right? And I hate to say it, but it's true. Back in the early days, it was the male network, right? The men. So the women always clung together, and I was a part of that group. Many times with the women group, right, I was the only Black female. And what I would say to you is, and as much as I hate to say this, but it's my truth, back then, when something went wrong, I was out of that clique. I was the first one out of that clique, right? Because I was the only one. I was the only Black female. So what is different today for me? I've learned how to appreciate my Black mom magic, right? It has become about me. And what does that mean? That means me understanding my unique and creative capabilities, right? And turning them into assets that make me proud of me, right? It has become about me. I care less about what others think, but let me be very clear here. I say less because I still care. I would not be telling you the truth if I said I did not care what others think. I do, but a lot less. And it's not driving who I am or how I behave. I try to be as authentic as I possibly can, right? Am I at 100%? I think we wrestle with that all as Black women. And guess what? I am no longer the first one out of the clique, because it's really about performance. It's about what you're bringing to the table. It's about how you're seen. It's about how you handle yourself. So what I would say to all of my mothers on the line, Black, people of color, white, you probably all have had similar experiences, and you can say, I can relate to that. That resonates for me. But what I would say to you, the difference is, as a Black female, the degree of complexity that we experience is different. And I would say the level of complexity is different. So we all share in that. At the end of the day, we're all mothers, we're all sisters. But that's the Black magic we talk about in terms of what we experience, right? And what do I mean by that? Why am I saying the complexity for the Black woman, which is why we have the Black mom magic, is different? Many times I was the only one in the room, the only woman, many times the only Black person, and still today, the only Black woman in the room, right? That adds a whole different level of baggage in terms of what we do and how we operate. Many times assumptions are made that I'm in the room because of my color versus my intellect. And I don't allow that to persist. I make it very clear by delivering. And the other thing, from a mom perspective, we always worry about our Black sons. Every kid struggles in school, but when my kids were growing up, it was our Black boys who we had to worry about the most. And I would say to all of the moms on this phone, as a Black mother, that experience, it cannot be appreciated beyond that. Our Black girls had struggles. I'm not discounting that. And I'm sure other kids have struggles as well, but it's very prevalent around our Black boys. So I'm gonna tell you my motto and how I deal in some words of wisdom, which is you cannot control how others act, but what you can control is how you respond. Okay. Your attitude is your choice. The power of choice is the power of change. And you have that power. Recognize it, ladies. You have that power. Understand the difference of being busy versus being purposeful. There is a difference. And we get so tied up and so trapped up, and we have so much going on that we're busy, 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 busy. My question that I would pose to you and ask you to ask yourselves is what you're doing purposeful. If it's not, let that baggage go. Let it go. And everyone wants to fit in. My challenge to all of us is stop trying to fit in and figure out how you stand out. Okay. Words of wisdom, and this one is the one that I still get chills about today. And it's our children. And what I would say to you is our children can endure sickness, right? They get sick. They can endure that. We deal with that, but we know as a mom, when our kids get sick, there is nothing that hurts us more than watching a sick child. But what I can say to you is, I am not sure they can recover when their spirit gets crushed. And we know for our Black boys, when they're growing up, many, many times things happen and their spirit gets crushed. In order for our kids to be right, as a mom, we need to see right. And what do I mean by that? They go through so much when they're out of our eye, when they're at school, and we probably don't understand half of what they're dealing with that could potentially crush their spirit. Okay. For them to be right, we as mothers, we got to learn how to see right. And what I would say to you as mothers is that words are so, so powerful. They can nurture or they can destroy. And why I bring this up is because I can think back and my kids tell me now some of the things they experienced when they were going through school, middle school, high school, and even in college, some of the challenges that they were experiencing. And I'm just flabbergasted. And why I say words matter is because I remember times when my son didn't do his homework and you need to get your homework done, and words matter, right? And what I'm saying is our words need to be more nurturing, right? If the homework doesn't get done, don't yell at them. Like, we can get frustrated easy because we want them to do well, we want the best for them. And so we're coming down on them. If I could go back, and I think I'm a great mom, but I'm saying there were times when I know I was challenged by work, I had things to do. My son wasn't getting his homework done, and I'm coming down on him. And I'm saying, I didn't need to be across the line giving him the same crap that he was getting from everybody else. I needed to be by his side, making sure I was nurturing him, still disciplining him. Don't confuse being on the same side as not disciplining. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying disciplining in a way that's nurturing and that they recognize that they have our support. So with that, I'll stop there.
I mean, mic drop.
All right.
Could we close the session for the day?
I mean, this is it.
All right, thank y'all.
This concludes our panel for today. I mean,
all right.
that was amazing. Like I have notes in my head that I'm processing the gems, and it's just wow. That is a true testament to your wisdom in motherhood and Blackness and in the community, just all the things. And so I want to let's keep this same momentum. I'm so feeling this. You definitely shifted the energy here. And so Giselle, my question for you what are some ways that Black moms and really all moms can tap into themselves, their magic, to help them navigate where they are in their families, their careers, community, and beyond?
Yeah, so one, now on my list is I need to sit at Sandra's feet for wisdom. And I think after this session, Sandra, better believe we're going to be connected. I think there's a lot that I can learn from you. But I'll tell you what has gotten me through. It's two things. One, I have to be very honest, my faith in God, that is what has gotten me through. just knowing and repeating to myself that all things work together for my good. And I can tell you that I've leaned on that so many times, and it has rung true a lot of times, more times than not, right? So all things work together for my good. There's something beautiful at the end of every struggle, at the end of every challenge that I face. There's a lesson to be learned. There is a new skill or a new strength that I've uncovered that I didn't know that I had before. So no matter what, all things are for my good. And I think for all the moms listening, no matter what your belief system is, that's okay. I just think you should have that set of guiding principles, or, whether it's that guiding verse or that guiding, whatever it is that energizes you, have that, lean on that through the challenging times, and know that it is going to work out, and remind yourself. And so I'm going to shout out my sister, who I know is listening, but I stole this practice from her, where at the end of each year, she writes out a list of all the things that she's overcome in that year. And it's a reminder to see how far you've come in your journey, and all the things that you thought were going to break you, that you thought were too challenging for you, and how you were able to get through them. And so write that list, everyone. I've done it, and it's like, okay, remember when I thought, or that one job that I thought that was going to break me, and here's what happened, or here's what door it opened, right? So remind yourself of those things. So that's one thing. And the other thing I'll just say, that I lean on, and my source of my magic is, my grandmothers. I am blessed to have 3 women that I've called grandmother, and all 3 of them grew up in a time where they were seen as less than, did not have equal rights, and all 3 pursued higher education. They all attended HBCUs. They've gotten graduate degrees, as well as a doctorate. And I've watched them raise families, work a career, pursued higher education, even some of them going back to school after having children, right? And watching them do that with grace. Same thing, leaning on their faith. And so that's where I get that practice from. My mother, who also watched her do the same exact thing. So I think also lean on the women in your community, your family, whoever inspires you. Now Sandra's on that list, but lean on those women and learn from them, and use that also as your other source of magic. So.
Perfect. I mean, all the answers are just phenomenal. And I see in the chat that it's really resonated with our audience. And so I just want to, as we're talking about motherhood and Black mom magic, and I just want to dive more into more the personal aspects of what that means for us. And to be honest, as moms, we had such a rough year last year with the pandemic. We're still in it, still going through it. We're from taking care of ourselves, our families, our communities, while still navigating racial and political tensions, and just so much more that we're dealing with. So this question is for each of you. How have your villages of support, community of family and friends changed since the pandemic? And how are you balancing resources to ensure you are surviving and thriving at home and at work? And this is open game. Anyone, one of you guys can feel free to jump in.
I'm happy to take a stab at that first. And I'll be honest, I kind of cringed when I saw this question, because I've just, in my 5 years journey of motherhood, my daughter is 5, I have not had that steady circle or support system. I've had to move a couple of times since having children. I've always been that transplant mom, where I don't have mom down the street or sister, best friend, anybody who serves as my backup. And my husband works a very demanding career in healthcare. And so, as you can imagine now, in the midst of a pandemic, his career has not slowed down, and he doesn't have as much flexibility as I would potentially have. So I've always had to, one, just lean on my strength to get me through. And I think even now more than ever in the pandemic, where the few times we were able to have our parents travel in town and visit and schedule to come help, it's no longer safe for them to travel or to even be around us, especially with our children still, schools are reopened here now, and they're exposed to germs and other things. And so we're trying to keep our families safe. The one thing I can say that I have done in getting through this is I've leaned on every single drop of resources that my company is willing to offer me. I have done it. And I tell women, don't leave those on the table. They give you that for a reason. And I say that fully recognizing that not every corporation is there Not every organization offers those types of benefits or flexibility, but I say if your company offers it, don't leave it on the table. So our companies offer backup childcare, which I have maxed out in the past on my backup childcare benefit. I take care, I use my the well-being benefits. You know, we were able to at one point go expense like going to the spa or other things as well-being. I did it. I did it all. I use every single benefit they offer me. And one thing I want to talk about, can we talk about PTO, like time off? Because again, that's another thing that I feel like not enough people take advantage of. It actually use your PTO, use your time off. You know, I'll tell you, I've used it, dropped the kids off at school, and I just sat on my couch, just in silence. And that was my time off just to take a mental break and get a day or catch up on laundry or whatever. So use your company benefits. That's my advice to anybody else who's in my scenario where you don't have that steady support. But that's a little about how I've gotten through it.
Great points. And you hit it on the nail. There's nothing wrong with using PTO days and the benefits that we all have at our elected companies, really leveraging that for support. So that's a great feedback there. Thank you so much for that, Giselle. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay, go ahead, Jenny.
I have the unique experience that we found out, you know, we were in a pandemic in Chicago. It was like March 13th, I think it was. And it was a Friday. And they were like, y'all, we're going to be home for 2 weeks. Don't get crazy, y'all. It's going to be 2 weeks. You're going to be at home. It's going to be a big deal. And that was Friday. And that Sunday, I found out I was pregnant. So I have been pregnant in a pandemic, given birth in a pandemic. And to do that without a village, I never thought that I would be in this position. I pride myself in having such a, you know, I'm a daughter of Chicago. I live in Chicago. My mama's 30 minutes away. My girlfriends, I live in a neighborhood in Bronzeville where I can throw a rock and there are girlfriends that are around me. So never in a million years did I think that I would be alone. I mean, my husband is here, but never did I think that I would be without my village in child rearing. That has never been a goal of mine. So what I have had to do is redefine community. So to me, a lot of community for me were events and being in the presence of each other and literally huge play dates or going out to outings all together. And that wasn't available. So I really have had to do two major things. One, pour into my community, even pregnant, even as a new second mom, I have been able, what can I offer you today? I always say that I'm the plug, I'm the connect. I might not have what you need, but I know who has it. So I have had, if I see a mom with things going on, I don't wait for her to ask for help, because as mamas, we always got it. Like, I got it, it's fine, I'll do it. If I see there's an issue and I have a resource that she can use, I've been proactive about sending those resources her way. As I pour into my community, then my community pours back into me. And that comes in the form of, we did not cook a meal for the first 4 weeks of us being home after a baby, because DoorDash gift certificates were coming in my inbox so fast. And I was thanking people and asking for more. If someone said, what can I do to help you? I don't want to have to think about breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And so I really asked specifically about what I needed. And I know that goes against sometimes the intuition of that we have as women, Black women. You know, we save the world. And you know what? We're tired. Like, there are no trophies, there are no capes. Let's take them off and let's lean on each other and ask specifically what you need. And that's also important for your home. My husband and I got married late. We got married, I was 35. We got married. And so my husband and I both had our individual lives. I became a mom at 36 and then 40. So we had our own individual lives. We both have very strong social lives. And so we kind of were this powerhouse together. But with both of those things going, we had to lean on each other so much. So I had to tell my husband, this is what I need. This is the time I need. This is why this is important to me. And on the other side, our marriage is stronger because of it, but we had to have some very courageous conversations around it. So if you haven't had those yet, I really encourage you to have those with the people close around you. Don't be afraid to be transparent, because often other people are going through the same thing. And don't be afraid to lean on your community, because that's what they're there for.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for that.
If I
Talking
that,
community.
I won't take a lot of time on that because my esteemed panelist members have really covered the key points. The only thing I would add to that is let's be careful of the superwoman syndrome that we all fall into, right? It's a very, very easy trap for us to fall into. We feel like we have to be all things for everyone, no matter what. So the only thing I would say I would add to the conversation that we've already had is make sure you get that me time. I can't tell you how important that is. Make sure you're watching your diet and what you're eating and what you're putting into your body. Make sure you get some time to just walk, to exercise, because we're at home, times have changed. We're not getting the things, we're not getting out, we're not getting the vitamin D. And so, as the site head, and I do a lot around what's happening in the community in our inner city, there's a lot going on around mental health of our children, right? Because they can't get out, because they are at home, right? So get the me time, be very cognizant of your kids and what's happening there. Mental health is going to be on the uprise. And so we should just be cognizant of that. Watch your children and what they're doing, where you can get play dates for them. Find that one person who is being responsible during this time. And if you can make that happen, make it happen. Go to the internet and read what they're saying about mental health for our kids. It's so important that you understand that, because you don't want to come out of this. We don't want to come out of this. And then our kids are so far behind, right? Because of the things that we didn't think about as we were going through this process. So supermom syndrome, be careful, and let's understand what this means to our children.
Perfect. Thank you. And to segue into this, as we're still talking about the pandemic and how it's impacted our lives, both personally and professionally, specifically with us as Black mothers, our Research and Insights Division Work Labs recently released a study earlier this month, Moms of Color Working and Being a Mom During the Pandemic, in which several key findings came out of that survey from more than 1,500 mothers around the topic of work implications during the pandemic, including racial strife and the cause for action in this country. Sandra, I want to focus with you here for a minute with stating that the top 3 factors that came out of that that's impacting employee experience are flexibility, organizational support, and leadership. What strategies or tactics can employers implement to ensure that employees of color, Black women get the support they need to be successful at work right now and beyond the pandemic?
Right. Thanks, Jennifer. So a couple of things I just want to start off with. One is that COVID does not discriminate. It's hitting everybody. So this is the one time where we're all experiencing something very, very similar. And I like to categorize it again, having people around the world, right? And this pandemic is hitting the world, right? I see a lot of what's going on. And I have employees who, we spend a lot of time with making sure they're getting what they need. So I'm gonna categorize it, and then I'm gonna talk about what we're doing at Citi in terms of trying to help our employees around those 3 categories, Jennifer, that you mentioned. So, there are single moms with kids who, my heart goes out to, because they're the only support in the household. Then there are the married moms with kids who are struggling as well. And it could be kids or elders. Then you have your single moms living alone. They're struggling too, because if you're by yourself, that's a whole different element. And then there are married moms with no kids, me. So I can't feel sorry for myself, because I feel the struggle of many in terms of what they're going through. While COVID doesn't discriminate, we know that there are social inequalities, right, that impact how COVID is impacting our community, right? And so we know there are long-standing health and social inequalities that are putting our people at risk and people of color at risk. So while COVID doesn't discriminate specifically, our people of color tend to be the ones that are highly impacted. The other thing is from an occupational perspective, right? It has been shown, and this is the studies, guys, this is not just me talking about it, this is the studies that say people of racial and ethnic minority groups tend to be in positions disproportionately where they cannot work from home, right? And so they have to go into the office, right? And so while COVID doesn't discriminate, the impact of what's happening to our community, is real, right? So I want to start out with that. And then we know the work setting, right? For those who can't work from home, right, have to go into the office. And then you talked about PTO or getting sick. There are many companies who don't pay these folks if they get sick, right? So there's just a whole nother dilemma. So we should understand not only what can companies do, but we also need to be very cognizant of the fact that we have people who are hurting right now. And to the extent those of us who are in a better place can help those who are hurting somewhat, we should do all we can. Like somebody mentioned DoorDash the first week, ordering from DoorDash. When I order from DoorDash and that person delivers my DoorDash, I make sure they get an awesome tip, right? Because I know, so that's the part I play back. I make sure, one of the local restaurants around here said, I said, gee, your prices went up, and I could get this from Costco, at a much lower price. He says, yeah, but I'm local, I'm small, I can't compete with the big businesses. So you're supporting me is helpful. So we need to understand the businesses in our communities. The bigger businesses can survive and thrive, but it's the smaller businesses who oftentimes tends to hire our people, right? We need to make sure we're doing as much as we can to support those businesses. So I'll leave it at that. Now, what can employers do in terms of the three categories around leadership, flexibility, and organizational support? City's response has been this. Our CEO, it started at the top, right? And the message resonated through our organization. She has been very clear that organizations need to manage based on data and not just on dates, right? And the thought has to be around how do we keep our employees and their families safe? So if you're expecting your person to come into the office and they go home, you're not only potentially affecting that employee, you're potentially affecting that family. So there's just a lot to contend with. So as an employer, you need to be cognizant of that. And then the constant communication around what's going on and making people feel comfortable, right, in terms of what they're doing. So in terms of flexibility, how are we working hard to make sure our teams feel that level of comfort, right? The first 3 months, I would hear from my employees, I feel guilty because I have to do homeschooling, and my hours are 8 to 5, and the homeschooling is 12 to 2, and da 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 da. What we've done as an organization is we've said, let's come up with a buddy system. Like, first of all, no one should feel guilty because you have to take care of your child, and no one should feel guilty because you have to help them with homeschooling. Let's just state that upfront, outright. And if anybody feels that pressure or that pain or that struggle, raise your hand and please tell us. That is so important that people can feel comfortable doing that. And I could tell you the first 2 to 3 months, people didn't feel comfortable doing that. They're like, I know you said it, but as soon as I do it, then I'm going to be told by my manager, you're not delivering, and therefore I'm not comfortable. And so as companies, it needs to be reinforced from the top all the way throughout the organization. We have critical staff who have to go into the office. I mentioned earlier around, some jobs. We too at City have a function, our public sector function, who have to go into the office. And our job is to make that environment as safe as possible, that they feel safe. And we're asking them, do you feel safe in this environment? We're cleaning, we're giving them the mask. We're not expecting them to figure out how to get masks. So we're doing as much as humanly possible to feel safe. We're doing that. We're not micromanaging. And guess what? I can say from a Citibank perspective to any employers who are listening to this, our productivity has gone up. Why? Why has it gone up? Because our folks are saying, I need to take 2 hours during the day to do this, but I'm going to give it back to you, and I'm going to make sure this gets done, and we're working together to pull together. So employers don't look at it as I'm going to lose productivity if I allow people to do it. Look at it as we're all human and we all have things to do. And I know me personally, I perform my best when I feel good about what I'm doing and how I feel, right? And so make sure your employees feel that way. And then in terms of organizational support, Giselle hit the nail on the head. We have health programs. We have programs that talk about eating. We have programs that talk about style. We have programs where you can get a nutritionist that will work with you. Take advantage of those programs. They are free. Guys, FREE, they are free. Take advantage of those programs because it's so critically important. The other thing that we're doing is, what I was hearing from employees is that that's great, and I do have the time, and I do get disconnected, but I'm going insane in this environment. So what we do on Fridays is we pick an event, like we did a magician show via Zoom. So families and their kids on Friday night at 6 o'clock could come together, see everybody on the Zoom screen. The magician did, integrated it with the family, so the kids could participate as well. We did a jazz concert one night. Go get your bottle of wine and listen to jazz and sit back and relax. We do sessions where it's like, let's talk about what you're experiencing, because what we found out is when people speak about it, others say, I have that same issue, or this is how I dealt with it. So it's about providing our teams with the opportunities to come together and to make that happen. So what I would say to us as a community is this: faith is positive, fear is negative, right? And it's so easy to be fearful in terms of everything that's going on. Fear paralyzes us, and it prevents us from being the best me, the best we that we can be, right? And I would say use your discernment and your wisdom to eliminate fear, and don't let fear speak to your mind or to your heart. And how do I do that? One, I go back to what Giselle said. My faith is very, very strong, and I'm clear that my destiny has been set, and it's my job to live up to that destiny. I'm very, very clear on that. And the other thing I would say to you is find what relaxes you and do it as often as you need to get relaxed. So get that fear. Don't let that fear, because fear is not a natural emotion. It is not. Trust me, believe it, right? If your faith comes through, whatever it takes to get you to that comfort level, whatever it gets you there, take the time to do it, guys, because I'm going to tell you, if that's eating at you and you let that eat at you over time, the recovery from that is hard. And I'll leave it at that, Jennifer.
Perfect. And I think many of us, all of us really can agree with you on those solutions and some of the information that you shared with us in that answer. And thank you so much for that. I see that we're coming against time here, and I know that there are other questions from our audience today, and I want to share those with you guys, and then maybe if we still have enough time, circle back with you, Giselle, and close it out with you, Jenny, on a couple of the questions here that I have in front of me. But let's see what we have here from the audience. And I want, Jenny, if you can answer this question. What best practices have you implemented in your work life to manage it all, being a full-time everything?
Child, I am a full-time entrepreneur, a full-time mom, a full-time wife, a part-time lunch lady, okay, a full-time craftsman, and, assistant to my preschooler. So I am very adamant about this, and anyone that speaks to me about motherhood knows that I let go of balance. I think that balance is something that is sold to us by somebody, honestly, who probably wasn't a mama, but it's something, it gives us the bar that you need to be functioning on this level of everything all the time. And that's not anything that you expect of anyone else in any part of your life. So what I swap the balance for is I use these two words, juggle and alignment. So I juggle all the time. Some things I got a firm grip on, some stuff is up in the air. Some things are rubber and some things are glass. Some things will bounce and some things will break. Know the difference, figure out what it is for you, and then juggle as you can. That makes you feel so much better. It literally relaxes you. My son, we are again in e-learning. He also has a tutor on Thursdays. I'm trying to give him a healthy lunch. I have a newborn. You know what? We go to McDonald's every Thursday after his tutor. And instead of me feeling like a bad mom, we literally go from the tutor to the driveway. And it is like the most exciting day of his week. He's like, yes, And so I embrace that that's just part of the juggle. That's just something that I'm going to deal with. Alignment, meaning aligning things in your life so you can live wholeheartedly, as Sandra spoke, of being your authentic self 24/7, because that is our goal, even if we're not there. So aligning with companies that have cultures and values that you hold firmly and strong with, aligning with friends and support systems that also can support you and that really feel passionate about the things you feel passionate with. And for me, aligning in my marriage that we are on the same page of what really makes our house function in the highest capacity. We always talk about self-care. I don't got that down. People talk about, my self-care is Target, my self-care is taken. And girl, that is errands and hygiene. Okay. So a bath and Target, if that's your self-care, we need to raise that bar. You know what I mean? Like, we deserve more. So I always say, juggle what you can, align with things that are really close to your core culture and values. And that is really what's going to string you through motherhood.
That is perfect and cosign. And I don't, myself as a mom, still don't have my self-care practice. I'm still struggling with it. So, but I do believe with everything that we've discussed thus far, I do have the solutions to implement this and get back on track. And Giselle, I just want to go back to one of the questions, because I think some of the questions that we were getting from our audience, this will sum it up here and going back to the top. What can hiring managers practice and apply to their systems and processes when hiring diverse candidates such as Black women?
Yeah. I wish there was like one single magic answer for that, but I think there's, there are a lot of different routes you can take. But some things that I think that come to mind for me is, one, we all know the definition of insanity, right? So doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Can't do that. So that rings true with the recruiting process. And that's a journey that I can say I've seen within many organizations where, it's okay, we want diverse talent, but we still want X, Y, Z, and we have to acknowledge, one, whatever industry you're in, what is the current landscape? Is it already currently diverse? If it's not, then we need to rethink some things, right, about what we're expecting the talent to bring to the table. They can still be as highly competent, as highly skilled, but just maybe from a transferable industry or a transferable background, right, to what we're doing. So I think that's one big thing. It's like understanding your expectations and, what is truly a must-have and what skills are transferable for those roles as you're hiring. That would certainly open the door to more diverse talent. I think other things is, and some things we're doing here at JLL, it's making sure that our job descriptions are inclusive, right? And making sure you have inclusive language, that you're not using words or terms that might limit your talent pool or discourage women, Black women, women of color, moms from applying to those roles. So making sure that that your language is inclusive. And then working with partners, so shameless plug for Mom Project, but your partnerships, right? We have a strong relationship with Mom Project that helps open the door for more women, women of color, moms to come work for our organization. So I think the same can be true for other companies. Are you going to the same sources and expecting a different talent? Have you explored relationships with organizations like the Mom Project or other diversity organizations that can help you open up your talent pool? I could probably go on it. It does depend, I would say, largely on the industry and the role, but there's lots of things that you can do to kind of help broaden your horizons there.
Perfect. And I'm just checking in with my colleagues just to ensure that there were no additional questions that were missing from the audience today. Oh, here's one that just came in. How can companies celebrate our employees, not just for this month, but all months, especially as it relates to Black Mom Magic? Does anyone want to take a stab at that?
I can. I'll just take one quick stab. And so I was thinking about, allyship, right? And, being a true ally is not just during that month that's dedicated for this certain community. An ally is not, attending a BRG or an ERG or affinity group meeting and saying, I was there, I stand by you. But it goes beyond standing by that community while they advocate for themselves, while they share their own journey. It's you doing the work as an organization or as a person. If you call yourself an ally to a certain community, I'm doing it myself for other communities. It's educating yourself on those communities, educating yourself on what they are experiencing, don't just lean on them to teach you. That's lazy. Go out, read about it. There's so many resources now more than ever that can help guide that. And then you hold the session, hold the meeting outside of that month, right? Like it shouldn't just be on that PRG to only be the one to put on their events or to talk about what's important to them. The company can help lead that. The allies, if you're an ally, you can help lead that. And again, if you're not comfortable yet, then take this time now to do the research. But I think it's something that, yes, in employees and certain groups, I know I certainly would love to see, Black history celebrated throughout the year and not just for 1 month. We're still on a journey as a nation, so this is not necessarily a corporate America issue. This is just an issue right now in general. But I do think that there are things that companies can do, and then allies within those organizations can do to make sure that those communities are celebrated throughout the year.
That's wonderful. And I think this is a great way for us to wrap. We're going to end it here with questions. But before we go, I at least want to make sure that our audience, they're able to get in contact with you ladies if they want to connect with you all after this panel and beyond. So we could do a roundtable. How can people best get in contact with you, starting, I guess, with Jenny?
Sure, you can have. And let me tell you something about the Mom Project audience. They are go-getters, okay? So mamas have already been in my email, my inbox, sending me emails, and I just love it. So continue to do so. You can find me on LinkedIn at Jenny LaFleur. I'm on all your favorite social medias as Mama, M-A-M-A. I'll drop it in the chat, Mama Fresh Shy, and I respond to all DMs and all that good stuff. And you can find my email address there to reach out to me. And as we wrap up, I always wrap up these things by telling mamas, if no one, and I always look like creepily into the camera, if no one has told you today, I am proud of you. You showed up for yourself today. You took the time out to be here, to invest in yourself. And that is not easy during this time. So I am proud of you, and you are already on the journey of whatever you're trying to get to, because you took this first step. You took this step today. So I'm just like, you got this, mama. You're already doing it. I'm proud of your Black Mom Magic.
Love it. I love those encouraging words. And Sandra, what's the best way that our community can get in contact with you?
I'm on LinkedIn as well, but I have to tell you, I am like every 2 weeks, it takes me to catch up to all the messages that I get. So I have to be very, very transparent. And if you're gonna reach out to me, I want to hear 2 things that you're doing differently as a result of this session today to improve yourself. Then I'll take the call, right? That's my challenge to this team, to say, what have I learned? What am I going to do differently to help me? But I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Love that. You guys heard it first. Don't contact her with silly questions. Let's get it together and come with some solutions here and what you've learned. And last but not least, Giselle, what is the best way that our audience can get in contact with you?
I'm just gonna straight up steal what Sandra said, but no, I'm not cool enough like Jenny to have this big platform. So I'm on social media, but privately somewhere. But no, LinkedIn is the best way to reach me, and I do usually respond. It might take me a little while because of the nature of the work that I do. I also get a lot of prospective talent in my inbox. So, but same, and I would also love to hear what you've learned and what you'll do differently, and I would do my very best to get back to you.
Perfect. Well, we again thank you, each of you, our panelists on today, for just taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us here at the Mom Project. We genuinely and wholeheartedly appreciate you and appreciate the responses that you guys provided today to some of our questions. This recording, community, will be available to all participants soon. And if you have any additional questions for myself and my colleagues, please contact us at community@themomproject.com. We do thank you all for joining us today. And as a reminder, we know that we are stronger together when we share our stories and experiences. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day and have a fantastic weekend. Thank you.